Unplug your receiver and check the HDMI board inside. A small daughter card bolted on as an afterthought is the part that kills the unit, not the amplifier. 9 receiver brands ranked from most replaced to most rebuilt. Today, the ranking goes public. Number 9. Onkyo's entry-level TX series. Onkyo built a reputation in the 2000s on packing more features per dollar than anyone else, and for a while that reputation was earned. The current entry-level TX series continues the features per dollar formula, but the engineering budget behind it has not kept pace with the feature list. What technicians find inside current entry-level Onkyo units is an HDMI board that runs hot under sustained 4K and 8K signal switching, with thermal management that was clearly sized for a simpler chip generation. The repair pattern is consistent. HDMI handshake failures within 2 to 3 years of regular use, almost always traced back to that same board. Verdict: the feature list grew faster than the engineering budget behind it. That's the first pattern on this list. It repeats with a name people trust even more. Number 8. Sony's Budget STR series. Sony's budget receivers carry the same brand trust as Sony's televisions and cameras, and that trust does a lot of heavy lifting in the showroom. Open the chassis and the picture changes. The power supply in Sony's entry STR units uses a single shared transformer rail across all channels, which means the same power sharing problem older AV receivers have always had, except now it's paired with software-driven room correction that technicians describe as inconsistent from unit to unit, depending on a calibration microphone that ships in the box and rarely gets used correctly by the average buyer. Verdict: the brand name carries more weight than the circuit underneath it. No sponsored gear, no manufacturer relationships, just what the technicians know. 2 brands in, and the pattern holds. The next name carries real heritage, which makes this harder to hear. Number 7. Yamaha's Budget RX5 series. This is where the list gets uncomfortable because Yamaha earned real respect with their vintage CR series decades ago, and that legacy still shapes how people shop for the brand today. The current Budget RX5 line inherits the name but not the engineering culture. Technicians report crossover-like compromises in the amplifier section, not a literal crossover since this is a receiver, but the same instinct. Components selected to hit a price point on the spec sheet, rather than to perform consistently across the receiver's full power range. Prices mentioned are United States-based estimates. Check your local market. Verdict: the badge says natural sound. The budget line says something else. Before the 2 brands that will genuinely surprise you, if this is the kind of content you want more of, subscribe now. Have you ever actually opened your receiver to look at the board layout, or just trusted the spec sheet? Number 5 is a brand most people assume is mid-tier, and it's about to outrank names you'd expect much higher. Number 6. Denon's Entry AVR series. Denon's Entry AVR line is the most common receiver recommendation on every budget home theater forum, and for good reason. The feature set per dollar is genuinely strong. The specific issue technicians flag is firmware longevity, not hardware. Denon's entry units depend on regular firmware updates to maintain full HDMI 2.1 compatibility as new source devices arrive, and update support has a defined end date that most buyers never check before purchasing. A perfectly healthy receiver becomes functionally outdated the day that support window closes. Verdict: the hardware will likely outlive the software that's supposed to keep it current. 6 brands down. None failed on bad engineering exactly, they failed on where the budget went. Number 5. Integra. Integra is Onkyo's sister brand, built for custom installers rather than retail shoppers, and almost nobody outside the professional installation world has heard of it. That obscurity is the entire reason it belongs this high on the list. Integra shares some platform engineering with Onkyo, but the components technicians find inside, the capacitor bank, the output stage biasing, are specified to commercial installation standards, meant to run for years inside a closet without a service callback. The build quality is what Onkyo's retail line used to be before the cost-cutting started. Verdict: the brand nobody shops for is outperforming half the brands everyone does. Number 4. Rotel. Rotel has built amplification in the UK and, more recently, under a parent company with serious manufacturing discipline since 1961, without ever chasing the feature list arms race that defines the rest of this market. What you find inside a Rotel receiver is a power supply sized the way a 2-channel amplifier's power supply is sized, generously with headroom to spare and applied to a multi-channel chassis. Technicians consistently note that Rotel's surround channels don't fall apart in the same situations that expose shared rail receivers, because Rotel simply overbuilds the supply rather than cutting corners to hit a price point. Verdict: a company that treats every channel like it matters, not just the front two. Two names, now that nobody asks for by default, both beating brands with 10 times the marketing budget. Number 3. Arcam. Arcam has built electronics in Cambridge, England since 1976, and the receiver line carries the same design philosophy as their standalone amplifiers, which is unusual because most brands treat the receiver category as the budget afterthought next to their real amplifiers. The specific strength technicians point to is the preamp stage. Arcam's receivers use the same circuit topology in the preamp section as their dedicated stereo gear, rather than a simplified version built down to a receiver price point. That single decision is why an Arcam receiver driving stereo speakers sounds like a stereo amplifier that happens to also do surround, not the other way around. Verdict: the only brand on this list that didn't simplify the part that matters most to make room for the part that sells. Number 2. NAD's Master Series. NAD already proved the philosophy decades ago with the 3020, a conservatively rated amplifier that outperformed receivers rated at triple the wattage. The Master Series receivers apply that same engineering discipline to a modern multi-channel platform. The specific feature technicians respect here is the modular design. NAD's Master Series uses a replaceable HDMI module, the exact component that kills most receivers on this list when HDMI standards move on. So when the next HDMI generation arrives, you replace a card, not the entire receiver. Verdict: the one brand that engineered around its own industry's most common failure point instead of ignoring it. One name left, and it doesn't just outlast the competition. It outlasts the need to upgrade at all. Number 1. Macintosh. Macintosh has been hand-building amplification in Binghamton, New York since 1949, and their receivers are assembled by technicians who can trace a unit's entire build history by its serial number. The component technicians cite most is the autoformer output stage, a transformer-coupled output design Macintosh has used for decades specifically because it protects both the amplifier and the speakers from impedance mismatches that would stress a conventional output stage. It is expensive to build and almost nobody else still does it. That single piece of engineering is why 30-year-old Macintosh units still show up on technicians' own benches for routine maintenance instead of for emergency repair. Verdict: built by a company that never had to choose between looking premium and being premium because the engineering was never separated from the brand in the first place. Here is the principle I want you to take away from this video. One sentence: the receivers that fail first are engineered for the showroom demo. The ones that last are engineered for the decade after the warranty ends. 3 words: modular, overbuilt, serviceable. The brands at the bottom pass none of those 3. The brands at the top pass all three. Subscribe if this changed how you'll shop next. Which brand surprised you most? Drop it below.